Welcome to the dungeon, Chris Stanford.
Thanks, mate.
How you going?
Good, good.
That's the way. Hey, you. Yes, you with the moist grass on your bare legs. This is a new year and a new podcast. I'm asking you to join me in some changes made just for you. I want listeners to join the new Facebook group for Aussie Lawn Stars, so you can give me feedback on existing episodes and content ideas for more episodes. But more importantly, it's a place you can ask questions. The simple questions may get answered by members in the group already, much like you would find in any community group. But the questions will fuel and feed future episodes. More importantly, if you ask a question in the group or on the YouTube comments section, you may get sucked into the dungeon where your question and you become a feature episode. In short, join Aussie Lawn Stars on Facebook, YouTube and Instagram to participate and engage with me directly and other listeners who want to help or be helped. So, Chris, people are going to wonder what's going on.
Yeah.
But you mow in my suburb.
Yes, I do.
So a lot of people would have heard me mention Kurrambong from time to time in the podcast. And you bought the Jim's franchise in Kurrambong.
Yep.
So you're probably like, I got one up on Gary here.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's funny because when I first started, I was like, all right, I want to get a Google My Business listing before I even knew what they were. But got the Google My Business listing sorted out. And for years and years and years, the Google My Business listing was mine. So anybody searched for lawn mowing in Kurrambong, there wasn't any such thing as Jim's advertising in the number one spot for Google. It was Gary Ashton.
Yep. Probably not the case now though, right?
No, it's not. I still get calls sometimes, but I'm not actually trying to get residential work in Kurrambong now. So I don't have an active Google My Business listing for Kurrambong.
That's okay, mate. Just leave it for me, all right? Just leave the work for me.
But yeah, it's so you've been doing this for a little while because I knew who the previous franchisee was in Kurrambong. I didn't actually go and introduce myself to him. Maybe I should have. But I knew when his business was up for sale, and then next thing I know, you turned up mowing the property down the road just from my house. And I was out there having an early morning run, and I was like, oh, hello, got to say hello to the new person.
All right, yeah. Like I said to you, it's just that introduction just meant a lot to me. And that actually sparked my interest in wanting to. I already had listened to your podcast a few months before.
Yep.
But then I stopped just because life got on and I was listening to other things.
Yeah.
But that sparked my interest to check it out again because
nice.
When you mentioned, I remember you mentioning in the podcast that you live in Kurrambong, and I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I never figured that I'd see you around, and then you tapped me on the shoulder, and here we are.
Yeah. There you go. And it was confusing because you've got a elderly gentleman that works with you.
Yep.
And I'm like sizing you up. Yeah, I know. You must be the apprentice. He must be the business owner.
I get that a lot. People think the older guy is the boss. And when we both get out of the car and walk up to the customers, people always talk to him first. And it's like, no, sorry, it's actually me.
Yeah, I guess you could deflect if you don't want to talk to somebody.
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes I just send him in.
Perfect. There you go. So, Chris, I think, what is it? It's probably more than 12 months ago that I first introduced myself and said, hey, you need to come on the podcast sometime.
Yeah, a little bit over 12 months, yeah.
And when I first talked to you, I reckon you'd only been in it for a month or two.
Yes, yeah, you got me pretty early on. Yeah.
You were pretty new.
When I started with Jim's, yeah.
You were pretty green, even, pardon the pun, Jim's green colour all over everything. But
that's right. Green as a business owner, but not green in the industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just choking on my hot drink there. So you had previous experience in the industry?
Yes. So I started an apprenticeship in Parks and Gardens straight out of school. So year 11, so I was 16. Did my apprenticeship there. Didn't get qualified. I left a month before I finished. Had a falling out with my boss, unfortunately.
These things happen.
Yep. Then I went away and did a few other different careers and different jobs.
Yeah, okay.
Then I found my way back to gardening, just working as an employee for a company, a Flower Power franchise in Sydney.
Yep.
Spent 5 years there, and then ended up buying a business, buying a Jim's franchise.
So the Flower Power in Sydney, were you watering flowers?
No, it was a similar like franchise model to Jim's, like similar. They do franchising as well.
Oh, okay.
Um,
So I've seen the Flower Power nurseries. That's why I thought maybe you were watering the flowers.
yeah, no. It's similar to, like, I'm sure there's differences, but it's just similar to Jim's or Fox or VIP. Like, there's a franchise, you get your area and you get
Yeah, okay.
customers and leads and
I'm
whatnot.
learning something new here.
Yeah. It's bigger down in Sydney because, well, like there's not really many Flower Powers up here, right?
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, it's big. My boss down there, he runs a big team of about 12 guys at the moment, four trucks and warehouse, and
Okay.
he's doing really good.
So are they connected with the Flower Power nursery? It's the same business?
It's like, I don't know exactly how it works. It's like you're franchised through the Flower Power. It's similar to Jim's, I guess, in that way, but like there's an actual store where there's the Flower Power and they get like trade prices and special prices.
That's where I was angling. I was like, maybe you're getting good prices at trade prices for all the
they
plants
get,
and
I
everything.
think, like a normal trade discount, but it's like on top of that is an extra discount for the franchise.
For the franchise.
Yeah, and then they get like leads and whatnot through their franchise. Yeah, and it works. They've got a franchisor as well connected to the store and stuff. I don't know all the details. I'm sort of talking off the top of my head for what I remember my previous boss telling me.
Because you were an employee there, so you weren't running a business at that stage.
No, I wasn't, no. I picked his brain as much as I could because he's just a genius.
Yeah.
But the Jim's model that I'm doing now is a lot different to the model that he has. Like, he runs off like an hourly rate, and like we're there for an hour with two people, and it's a set fixed price for fortnightly, monthly. So a little bit different to what I'm doing, where I'm mainly mowing lawns with gardening extras.
Yeah, okay. So so you would keep in contact with him then, but it sounds like you hold him in high regard.
Oh, he's one of the best humans, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, he's a role model of mine, like in business and in life. Like, I haven't spoken to him since probably like a few months before Christmas. Just like being busy, and he's always busy as well.
Yeah.
But he's a guy you can just talk, you call up at any time, just talk to him for hours, and like he's just there to listen, give you advice, and just be like a mate as well, not just like a previous boss. So he'd be a guy to get on an interview, actually.
Yeah, for sure. We'll have to exchange some details later and see if I can get him in.
Yeah, his name's Gary as well, so.
Yeah, no problem with getting another Gary in the dungeon.
Yeah.
So with him being a mentor or something to that effect, I've talked about it before, and I've picked this up from other people. If you have 5 people in your life that you learn from, then those 5 key people form who you are. And so he would be one of those people that's top of your list.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like I said, it's been a while since I spoke to him, but like when I think of, like, he's like the guy, if I've got any issues or I need to just talk to someone, that's the person I'd call.
Yep. So I guess being in a franchise yourself, you sort of eliminate the need to have 5 independent people elsewhere. You get a lot of what you look up to within the franchise.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Like, I'll just randomly get messages from other gyms and whatnot, just saying, oh, hey, I'm in the area near you.
Yep.
What do you think about this? Like, I've actually became mates with a couple of the other gyms, or they've got a few jobs in my area and they've got a referral, but they don't have time for it, so they just flick it over to me.
Yeah.
And vice versa, I do the same for others as well.
Yep.
Yeah. I went on the Jim's Mowing podcast, just like a half an hour interview with Joel.
I listened to that.
Yeah. And after that, I got a fair few messages from gyms in the area just saying, like, that was cool. Like, how do you do things? And we're just bouncing advice and different opinions with each other. So it's really good.
I reckon I've interviewed probably 3 or 4 of the local Newcastle area gyms franchises.
Yep.
So I've gotten through a few of them.
Yeah, nice one.
And typically, I really like what the franchise model offers. I didn't start as a franchise myself, and I'm fiercely independent.
Yeah.
But I really do like what franchises offer, and the gyms franchise, obviously being the most well-known one, is the most likely one to field a lead at any point in time. So if you're picking one for the number of leads you get, then gyms would make sense to have more leads than elsewhere.
Yeah.
And you'd also hope that it's got one of the better franchise models well set up, got all the training attached with it, all those sorts of things, all the systems that are in place as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get people messaging me and saying, stop sticking up for the franchises. Or even I'll get Joel harassing me for saying this one, but even people who are in the gyms franchise network will message me, call me and say, what systems are you talking about? I don't get any support with their systems. And it's like, okay, I'll just back off. Joel, I do want to be your friend. But the thing is, there's so much variability within this. And a lot of people are quite critical of the franchise models.
Yeah.
For good reason.
Yeah.
I looked at it when I first started. I looked at a franchise that was the local gyms franchise for Koorumbong.
Yeah.
I had a chat to the guy who was operating it back then. His last name was Roberts. This is 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And I chose to go independent instead of going through gyms. But looking at that, I weighed up the cost of joining up to gyms versus doing it on my own. And the feedback I got was that it's really easy to pick up jobs without needing to be part of a franchise to get the leads. So I was like, well, that's easy. I'll just do it on my own. And the leads probably weren't as easy to get as what I thought they would be when I first started. But overall, I've looked at 15 years ago and I'm pretty happy being an independent.
Yeah. Yeah.
What does that look like for you? I know you're a bit over 12 months in, maybe 14 months into at the moment, and you've had a serious look at independent versus franchise as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So I never intended on buying a franchise. Like my boss was a franchisee through Flower Power, but there's no Flower Powers up here. So I was just going to be independent and just grow my business slowly. Because I actually had the opportunity. So the company that I worked for was in Sydney, so it was about an hour and a half drive away.
Yeah.
And I was commuting for a year and a half. I was commuting up and down the M1.
Wow. That sucks.
While I had a newborn, like a baby born as well. So it was a strain on like the first year of his life, like for me as a father, which I didn't really enjoy, and I didn't really see it at the time. It's only now looking back that I've got all this flexibility and spare time with him that I realised it was a mistake staying there for as long as I did.
Yeah. Hindsight.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. At the time, I thought I was doing the right thing just by like keeping my head down and working.
Yeah.
But my boss like gave me the flexibility I dropped a day working down with him. So I did 4 days with him. And then on Fridays, I started building up my own jobs. Just on the Central Coast.
Yeah, okay.
And it was building slowly. I was using Bizza, which is like the gym's system, like the leads that they get that don't get allocated to franchisees. It's like the leftovers.
Yep.
And you can get those without being a franchisee. You just have to pay like an extra lead fee.
I'm glad you called it the leftovers because I've said to numerous people, I'm like, go and join up to Bizza. You'll get gyms leads without having to be a franchise. Yeah. And talking to a few different people, it does seem like it is the leftovers. So if there's, 100 leads for Koorumbong, Chris gets them. But if Chris says, hey, I can't service all of them, they either send them to another gyms franchise. If nobody wants them, they go, chuck them on Bizza and see if an independent person who qualifies to be on Bizza will take it.
Yeah, that's right.
But if there's too many going to independent people, they will start going, oh, let's get another franchise running.
Yeah, yeah. And the issue that I find with that I found with the Bizza jobs is you've got to have a wide range of suburbs open to get a decent amount of work. So you'll get a quote for half an hour, like a job that's half an hour away over that way, and then a job that's half an hour over there. Like there's no density, so
Yep.
you can't really form like route density, which is important with the gyms, with a mowing business.
Yes.
Because they're all just like, it could be a $5,000 cleanup job, then you pay your $20 lead fee for a bizzer, but
Yep.
it could just be like a $70 mow, and it's like
Yeah.
half an hour out of your way, and you go and accept it, and then as soon as you be like, oh, this isn't financially like viable for me.
Yeah.
You got to drop the customer, and then the customer whinges and complains, and then you lose your 5-star rating on Bizzo and you're gone.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's about, well, I don't know if that's how quickly they get rid of people, but that's like a scenario that would be common because you've got to expand your suburbs to be able to get the decent amount of work in.
Yeah.
And that's what I was finding at the start, because I was just taking everything. I pretty much had it on for like 30 minutes from my house in each direction. But then you'd get one that's 30 minutes up, and then you get one that's 30 minutes down. So there's an hour you got to drive, half an hour up there, half an hour back down. You're losing half your day in travel time. So
yeah,
that's how I started, and I built up to a. So for that about 6-month period, I built up about between 10 and 15 customers.
Yeah.
But because I only had the Friday available, I couldn't like continue to grow, and I was seeing that I wasn't getting much work from anywhere else. Like I ran a few Facebook ads where I paid like $200 for like to run an ad campaign, and got stuff from there. And then I was on all the social media groups, like the community pages and whatnot. But for me, that's just the landmines of just one person will say, "How I need my lawns done," and there'll be just like comment of like 15 different independent mowing companies just saying, "Oh yeah, like get this guy in, he does a real good job."
Yep.
So,
I've seen really good jobs come through community groups, and then you see the race to the bottom of he'll do it for $20. Efficiency is the thing that rules a business and the decisions you make as a small business owner. Right Mowers give you the options in their product lineup to match efficiency with size, fuel usage, and the type of jobs you want to target, from catching to mulching or side discharge, from roadside verges to acreages, and manicured lawns to 6 feet tall and super long. I've been using the Right Stander I 42-inch with a Catch Pro for manicured areas, and the Stander ZK61 to maximise productivity for large open acreage mowing. If you need to replace your push mower, try the 32-inch Stander B. If you have more open access to residential properties, there's a 42 through 48-inch option that suits you. And if you want to enter the acreage market, the 52, 61 and 72-inch machines have choices in engine size and model type to suit the work you want it to do. Right Standards go the distance, saving you time and money season after season.
Yeah, I just got really frustrated by that way of trying to get work. So then I was thinking, like, I gave my boss 6 months notice that I was going to leave.
Yeah.
And then like 4 months, 3 months, 2 months, and there wasn't a big influx of work coming in. So I was starting to get a little bit nervous that, am I going to actually be able to have enough work and hit the ground running here?
Right.
Or am I going to be making enough at the start to get by for a little bit while I continue to build? And then, my boss said to me, "Why don't you look at doing a franchise? Like, you don't have to do Flower Power. There's other ones out there. There's Gyms, there's Fox, there's VIP." So then I looked into the franchise model, and I was like, why would I start from scratch? Don't have to pay anything up front, but start from scratch. Or I can start with an established business for what comparatively is a small money to pay up front comparatively to the amount of work you get. And you hit the ground running and you're getting more money than you need from the start, and then you can grow from there. That's sort of how I looked at it.
Yep.
And that's pretty much how it played out. Rather than starting with the 10 customers that I had, not paying anything up front, my first week as a gym, I made $7,000 revenue in my first week.
Yep.
And it was just carried on from there, essentially, and I just continued to get more and more jobs, and I already had a customer base like ready to go, like that was given to me that someone else had built up. So that was the big deciding factor for me.
Yeah. Now, if you buy a franchise that's a fresh franchise, you're not buying it off somebody else who's already built up a customer base. You're looking at somewhere around $30,000, give or take a little bit. And I think that includes a trailer and basic lawn mowing equipment, but probably
Yeah.
not a ride-on.
Correct. I think that's your ballpark figures. You're pretty spot on.
For a lot of people that are weighing up between independent and a franchise, 30 grand is a big hole in their pocket.
I agree.
So,
but I can't really touch on that because I bought a existing business.
yeah.
So I had the customers to start with. So
Yep.
from my personal experience, I can understand that and where are you going to get the value, but that wasn't the case for me.
Yeah. So I guess the other side of that is if you're buying an existing business and you're spending that sort of money, why not buy independent where you don't have, let's say, $1,000 a month in fees?
Well, I didn't do any research into into existing independent businesses.
Yeah.
Originally, like being honest with you, originally I wanted to buy a new business. I wanted to be able to pick the territory, like with gyms. I wanted to be able to pick the territory I wanted in, like a good,
Yep.
like affluent area where people had money, like somewhere right near the water, near the
Right.
beaches.
Yep.
But I went and met Paul, the franchisor, and he said, "Hey, like you can do that, and that's fine, but you're going to be starting with this, or there's this existing business in Kurrumbong,
Yep.
and it's a really good price for what you're getting, and
Yeah.
you're going to be starting with 60 customers straight off the bat." So he's like, "Do what you want, but this is what I think you should do." And
Right.
then I sort of looked into it, and I was like, Kurrumbong. Oh, there's this new estate in Kurrumbong, and there's all these new houses popping up, and they're all like really good, nice houses.
Shh,
Like,
don't tell everyone. It's my little secret.
yeah. So Kurrumbong is like, and like the first time, I'll be honest with you, I didn't drive out to Kurrumbong before I bought the business and look around. I just
Yeah.
like got the jobs. I got the job list and looked up the individual jobs and whatnot and saw the houses on Google Maps and whatnot. But first time, I'd never even heard of Kurrumbong, and first time driving out there,
Yep.
I'm driving through this road. I don't know what the road's called, but cows walked across the road. Right? And there's all these farms on my left and all these farms on my right, just as you get off the M1.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, what have I done? Have I just bought like a rural like business that I'm going to need like a big, huge ride on for? And like, there's no like small properties out here at all, massive acreage. But then I got into the main part of Kurrumbong and then even the new back part where it's all just new houses and there's just more and more houses coming up.
Yep.
And like Paul, my franchisor Paul, encouraging me to buy that area was like a massive, like, thanks for doing that for me because I was going to buy I was going to buy a new business, like somewhere completely different.
Yeah. So you could pick up a lot of acreage jobs in Kurrumbong. Yeah. For sure. I've done quite a few.
I've got a couple, but I mainly do the smaller residential ones.
Well, this is the thing, right? If you want to do acreage jobs, then you really need your trailer set up for doing acreage jobs. Whereas if you want to be doing small residential, then you don't necessarily want the space taken up with a ride-on that's capable of doing large open acres.
Yeah, that's right. Like I've got a mixture of both, probably about 80% like your normal standard block, and then I've got about 20% of the bigger jobs of the ride-ons and acreage.
Yeah. So unless you've gone up to, say, a 52, 61-inch size ride-on, you really want to stick to 1 acre, maybe 2 at the most.
Yeah, I've got a 42-inch gravelly, and I've got a 52-inch Toro time cutter.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so realistically, you're talking maybe 2 acre properties that you're limiting to.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the majority of your benefit with your franchise is, like you say, it's that new subdivision. And there's a couple of new subdivisions in Kurrumbong, but that's your target market where you're doing 100 square metres of lawn, maybe 300 square metres of lawn on some of them.
Yeah. Yeah. In and out, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, on to the next one.
Yeah, okay. So you saw the advantage of spending the money up front as well as the fees, the ongoing monthly fees and the lead fees.
Yep.
To jump in with the gyms franchise. And I think if I'm understanding correctly, it's partly because your old boss was like, hey, the franchise model's a really good way for you to get established quickly.
Yeah, pretty much. So that was the advice that I got from him. Then I looked into it. Spend a whole lot of time listening to Jim's podcast, watching the Jim's YouTubes, and they're just flooding you with saying you're going to get so much work, you're going to get so much work.
Yeah.
And so then I bit the bullet, decided to buy an existing business. Worst case, when you bought the business, it's detailing how much money each job's worth from the start. So you figured out, right, at a minimum, if I keep these customers, how much money I'm going to make. And I figured I'm really good at mowing lawns. Like, I'm fast. I've been doing this for a long time.
Yep.
I'm going to back myself to say that I'm going to be faster than the previous guy. So, because he's selling the business because he had bad knees.
Yeah, okay. Yep. Well, that's fair. You can outrun the tortoise.
That's right. So I backed myself that I'd be quicker than him.
Yeah.
And the case was I jumped from 55 to 100 in the first 2 months. So I pretty much doubled the customer base.
So 100 customers in 2 months.
I went from 55 to 100 in the first 2 months. And that was still as a solo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And depending on the types of customers, 100 customers solo is quite achievable.
Yes, yeah. Especially with all those smaller, like you said, between 100 and 300 square meter properties that are all right next to each other, like 5 or 6 jobs in the same street.
Yep.
Like on a big day, we can get 25 lawns done.
Yeah.
The average is probably about 15, I'd say.
So I think that's key to understanding what makes a lawn care business really work well is the size jobs that you're working with. If you're talking in Australia, the sweet spot seems to be $80, right?
Yeah.
If you fluctuate from $80, then the customer starts to back off a little bit. They're less keen on spending more than $80 for their lawn to be cut. And it doesn't matter what size it is. It's just that mental block that they have of, oh, that's going to cost me a fair bit to pay somebody to get my lawn cut.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So if you just go, that's a general rule. It's not always true, but it's a general rule in Australia. That's where people's minds are at. They can spend $80 each time they get their lawn cut. Doesn't matter how often it's getting cut. Doesn't matter how big it is. They can spend it. Once it goes bigger than that, then they start getting a little bit awkward around spending the money. So if you apply that rule in Kurrumbong, in the new subdivision, $80 is going to take you, if you're solo, 30 minutes, might be 25 minutes, might be up to 40 minutes, but generally speaking, it's going to take you 30 minutes, 25 minutes to get through that job that's $80. So that's going to be around $160 an hour you're working on if you're doing those yards. You go from the new subdivision, you turn the corner into my street, and the yard will take you an hour and a half to do, but I don't want to pay you more than $80.
Yeah. Yeah, I found that a little bit there. I do have a few jobs up on your side. And they're less inclined to accept the bigger price tag over the 80.
So you need to be charging $160 to do my yard, not $80.
That's right. But then at the end of the day, if they don't fit into the price that I need to set, then they're not my customer. They can get someone who is happy to mulch mow it for $50.
That's it.
At the end of the day, that's just how it's got to be.
Yep. But yeah, it's an interesting dichotomy that I see in Australia. But when you're talking about in the cities and in the suburban sprawl, because we're not in Sydney and we're not in Newcastle, we're just in the suburban sprawl in the middle. That's where you find older suburbs and newer suburbs have very different type of customer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess couple that with your position starting a gyms franchise or buying an existing gyms franchise. I find that a very interesting and challenging position to be in. You could either do really well, or you could sit there scratching your head going, I've got the benefit of the gyms franchise in 2 years, and now I want to be independent because I'm just paying $1,000 every month for the fees, but I don't need the leads anymore and I don't need their systems. I'm already well established.
Yeah, so I do see that point, and it's not something that I've had to come across because I want to grow my business and I want to bring on more staff, more vehicles, more trailers, and continue to grow my business in Cooranbong.
Yeah.
And the way that the gyms model is set up, it's set up for someone who wants to continue to grow.
Right.
So I do see the point that if 2 years, 3 years, you get to where you're full, there would be a benefit in looking to exit gyms. And they go, like, I don't understand what that process is like, but Jim's details it. There's a small, like Jim himself on his YouTube and whatnot says there's a small exit fee.
Yep.
I don't really know much about that process because it's not something that I've needed to do or I've even thought about yet. I'm still years and years away from that happening. But the thing is, right, like you're paying your $1,000. Sorry, it's roughly $800 a month for your lead, for your fees, for all your normal fees, right?
And then your leads are on top of that.
You pay extra for your leads. So I pay roughly a little over $1,000 a month, right? Okay. So let's say I'm fully booked, my leads are turned off. I'm paying $800 for a month. So that includes all the support you get from your franchisor, the support you get from the other gyms in the area, all the systems that gyms provides, the IT, the tech support from the call center. That provides all that. And then think about coming into winter when your work cuts in half and you do want to turn your leads back on. You've got the gym system and the leads there ready to go. So you might not use it for the full 12 months. You might turn it off for 6 months, 7 months, 8 months.
Yeah.
But if you've got a full business if you've got a full week of work in summer and you don't want any more leads, that's only half a week's work in winter because your work essentially cuts in half pretty much.
Yeah.
So you've got that period where you're going to be getting the leads coming through still. So
just
by absorbing that $800 a month, which to me, it's like you make that in half a day.
Well, if you're looking at it as a monthly fee, and I guess this is the temptation in a service industry where most things are weekly or fortnightly.
Yeah.
You start going, all right, let's break my insurance up into weekly or monthly costs as well, and let's make everything a monthly cost. If you look at it as an annual cost, you're spending close to $10,000 a year for your fees.
Yeah.
So rather than worrying about whether it's on for a month or off for a month, you go, okay, it's going to cost me about $10,000 a year to be able to take the jobs that I want.
That's right.
To be able to switch leads on when I want them, switch them off when I don't want them, and have the support of the franchisor.
Yeah.
And this is out of curiosity, I'm asking you this. The systems that you get support from in gyms that you wouldn't get if you were independent. And I know there's a lot of comparable options for independents. Like there's this great podcast called Aussie Lawn Stars people can listen to. There's also the Australian Professional Lawn Contractors Facebook group where they can get great advice, or LMCA. A bunch of places they can go to for advice or getting various different systems that they might be able to implement without having a franchise.
Thank you for listening to Aussie Lawn Stars. Please remember to rate and review the show on the Apple Podcasts app or the player you use. Exciting new shows are released every Monday. Make sure you follow or subscribe to hear the next episode.